So it's going to be a busy month for Charlo, Canelo Alvarez, Tszyu, and Brian Mendoza. I'm TstreeT Controversy with Fight View 360 for my colleague Big J of Australia. It is September the 7th, 2023, and in 23 days, so Canelo Alvarez is going to be taking on.
If you remember when Canelo took on Bivol, he used his reach and height and just outboxed Canelo. But then again, Bivol is a extremely superior. He's a pure boxer. So if Charlo does his reach and his height and keeps Canelo away from him, he should be able to outpoint him. So it's really, it's a sort of like a 50-50 fight. I don't know which way to go, and that's because I don't really care, because I think it's a bullshit cash grab fight where both blokes are ducking their mandatories just to have a pissing contest. So, as I said, I was never really excited about this fight, and I won't be, because it's just a bullshit, unnecessary fight. So everyone else might like it, that's fine. If people enjoy it, go right ahead and enjoy it. But for me, it's like, meh, I'm not really that excited to see two blokes ducking their mandatories just so they can have a pissing contest with each other to line Al Heyman's pockets. So
yeah, you would have rather Canelo fight David Benavidez as WBC mandatory, and you would rather see Charlo versus Tszyu than Canelo versus Tszyu. Is that correct?
Oh, well, I mean, Canelo versus Tszyu. You mean Charlo versus
Charlo
Tszyu?
versus
Canelo
Tszyu.
versus Tszyu. Yeah, Canelo versus Tszyu is a fantasy fight. I don't think it would ever happen.
Okay.
But Charlo was supposed to fight Tszyu in January of this year.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be in January 28th of this year. All right. That was already supposed to happen, but then, of course, Charlo got his hand hurt, so they had to delay it. And then, the WBA said, right, no more piss farting around. Fight him by September 30 or we'll strip you of the belt. And then out of nowhere came Charlo versus Canelo. So, I don't give a rat's ass what anyone says. Charlo's flat out ducking Tszyu, and you can't change my mind. So, Canelo, sort of like he's probably earned, the right to not duck but delay fighting Benavidez, because he fought right at last fight, which was his WBA mandatory. But Charlo, this is I got no sympathy for that bloke. So, I mean, it's really, I really am two minds about the bloke, because I feel that he doesn't get enough. This is Charlo I was speaking about. Doesn't get enough respect. The fact that he's an undisputed fighter, because most people wouldn't even put him, very high on the pound for pound list. I think I got him about, number 5. I think that's where I think he should sit.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, you can't. I mean, I understand why he went after the Canelo fight, and every fighter would do exactly the same thing. I mean, you can't blame him for going after the more money. He'll make 10 times as much fighting Canelo as he will Tszyu, but that doesn't escape the fact that he's flat out ducking his mandatory to have a pissing contest with Canelo.
Yeah, but and you've taken heat about it on social media. If you say ducking, he's choosing not to fight Tszyu, his WBO mandatory at 154, to fight for more money. So, I think that's where the controversy is on your opinion. So how can you really call it a duck? I'm just asking.
Well, it's a flat-out duck, because he's supposed to fight Tszyu. I mean, that's what a champion does. You fight your mandatory, then you go after the big money fight. That's the exact definition of a duck. You're avoiding who you're supposed to fight. You go fight someone you don't need to. That's a duck. I don't give a shit how much money is involved. So that's a flat-out duck.
Well, funny enough, a strong amount of fans are feeling that Charlo wants to duck or not fight Terrence Crawford. So here's what Terrence Crawford said to Boxing Social. Let me read this clip or this excerpt. If Charlo moves up in weight to fight Canelo and they strip him of his belt, there is no need for me and Charlo to fight because he's not undisputed. I've been saying that he is next for years, that I'm going to whoop Spence, then I'm going to whoop you, and I meant that. But yeah, if it's not for undisputed, then that fight is not interesting to me no more, because I'm trying to make all-time history. So I haven't got your thoughts on Terrence Crawford versus Canelo. So we could possibly see, okay, if Canelo beats Charlo, we could possibly see Terrence Crawford take on Canelo by next May, no later than this time next year. Your thoughts on that fight?
I like Terrence Crawford. I think he's a good bloke, but that is a bridge too far. That's 20 pounds, 20-pound jump. Canelo would beat the piss out of him.
With no tune-up,
So,
like to get it acclimated to the weight. That's my concern.
yeah, I think that would be exactly like Canelo versus B-Bowl. It'll be a bridge too far.
Yeah.
I honestly think it'll be a bridge too far. I mean, Crawford and Canelo are about the same height. No, actually, how tall is Canelo? He's not very tall, is he? He's only about
Now,
5'7".
Canelo's about 5'7". I've met both of them. Canelo's about 5'7". He's not no 5'9" that he's listed on BoxRec, and about 5'8", and Crawford's about 5'8" as well. I would say Crawford's a little bit taller than Canelo.
Yeah, but Canelo's a lot heavier, and he's been at that weight a lot longer. So
yeah,
I think that'll be very similar to the Canelo Bivol fight, where it's just going to be a bridge too far, and he's just going to take on someone who's just too big.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be able to take those body shots, and then putting on all that weight, having to rely, moving around to try to box. That's, as you said, that is a bridge too far. And also punch resistant. Your body may be able to move up as far as the weight, but can your punch resistance move up?
Well, exactly. I mean, remember Brock Jarvis versus Liam Parry? Look at that turn down.
Exactly.
Didn't turn out too well for poor old Brock. So, yeah, I think as much as I like Crawford, I think he would be smart to stay as far away from Canelo as possible and move up to 154, because if he moves up to 154, I don't think there's anyone that's really a threat to him. I don't think there's anyone in the division, including Charlo, that's a threat to him.
Well, once he gets to 154, it's looking like he's only looking for super fights now. So, I'm really believing that if Canelo beats Charlo, that fight is going to happen. But if he goes to 154, then he would have to fight Tszyu. To get, so, and I don't think if he's not going to fight Jerron Boots Ennis at 147, he's not fighting no Tszyu. Not because because he can't beat them both, not because it's just like financially, the money may not be there. He would have to go to Australia.
Yeah, well, that's perfectly true. I mean, I think, what's Crawford's biggest ever payday? 15 mil, something like that?
Crawford, his biggest payday now is a 20 million plus. For this last fight, it's not. I don't know, but I know it's 20 million plus. That's what's been going around. That was his biggest payday for the Spence fights. The most he's ever made before that, I forgot the exact number, but he was making about $4 million guaranteed on ESPN here in the States when he was with Top Rank.
Yeah, well, no limit don't get no $20 million to pay for him, so don't even entertain that. I mean, I want to see Crawford Tszyu because I don't think Tszyu could beat Crawford. I think he'd make a good account of himself, but it would be good to see if he could get one back for Jeff Horn, but
that ain't happening. That ain't happening. Nah, I don't think
it's going to happen. I would rather see. I would be more than happy to see Crawford versus Charlo, absolutely. But Canelo versus Crawford, no, that's a bridge too far. I mean, I'm not overly excited about Canelo versus Charlo because, as I said, it's just a pissing contest. But I mean, people are going to be excited for it. They want to see it. Yeah, great. Enjoy it. Enjoy the fight. I hope everyone does. But I'm like, there's other things that need to happen.
Yeah, because on my side, I think that a lot of people are so interested in Crawford versus Charlo now. But how are people going to feel after Canelo versus Charlo, depending on how Charlo loses, if he loses? Because if Canelo, let's say, for example, if Charlo gets knocked out, will people still say, you know what, now I don't even want to see the Crawford fight now? We just have to wait and see. But as it stands right now, I think just because, like it's still warm in the minds of fans, the Spence fight was not even 2 months ago, not even 6 weeks ago. I think that fans are just, like feeling that buzz and just wants to latch onto that fight. But right now, I'm I'm not as confident that it'll happen. I think that if Canelo wins, he'll go right for the Crawford fight. But if Charlo wins, likely there will be a rematch clause unless Canelo decides to retire directly after.
Yeah, well, the other thing that you've got to consider is that if Canelo wants Crawford, if he beats Charlo, then he wants Crawford. If he beats Charlo and then he wants to fight Crawford, what about poor old David Benavidez? Again, I have zero sympathy for fighters who duck their mandatories to have a pissing contest with some other bloke. And remember, that's just going to be Canelo beating up a smaller fighter. Come on, mate. Don't worry about bloody Crawford. You got 20 pound on him. Fight your mandatory.
But the way the boxing is right now, they say it's a business. It's about creating the event, creating the spectacle.
Oh, of course, yeah. I have no problem with guys making money, right? But what's the point of having sanctioning bodies and mandatories if you're just going to piss it up against the wall?
Yeah.
So, this is not WWE. This is boxing. It's supposed to be legitimate fighters, not friggin' guys acting the fool to make a better cash.
Yeah, by the way, Canelo has two mandatories, David Benavidez, the WBC, and David Morrell, the WBA. So to break down the 168-pound division really quickly, I have it right here on the screen. Demetrius Andrade is in heavy talks to fight David Benavidez on pay-per-view. They're trying to find a date for that. David Morrell was hoping to get David Benavidez, but hopefully they may slide him on the undercard. Caleb Plant coming off of a loss to David Benavidez. You have to expect that he's going to be looking for a comeback fight soon. It'll likely have to be on an undercard or on a regular Showtime show. And the 168-pound division is pretty top heavy. Those are the main movers and shakers in the division right there. When you got Sergey Kovalev on the outside looking in, Edgar Berlanga and Jaime Munguia are in talks to possibly fight. Munguia will be moving up again to 168 pounds. But it's a pretty stagnant top-heavy division where you can see that Canelo has nothing but tough challenges ahead of him if he decides to stay in that division and fight.
That's true. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
When's the last time Charlo fought a mandatory? Was that Tony Harrison for WBC?
I
don't think Charlo's fought a mandatory in a very, very long time.
I don't think so. Harrison wasn't a mandatory.
Okay,
he got all of the belts. The only mandatory was Brian Castano.
No, Brian Castano was the WBA champ. That was the unification.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. No, he's not. I'm looking. I have the box rec here now. He got the belt.
Erickson Lubin, maybe?
No.
Erickson Lubin might have been a mandatory.
Erickson Lubin was the mandatory. That was his only mandatory. I was at that fight. Erickson Lubin was the mandatory.
And how long ago was that fight?
That was in 2017. 6 years ago. Next month.
How the fuck does a champion get away with pulling that bullshit for so long?
6 years ago, next month.
That's bullshit. But anyway, then again, Charlo had a lot of championship fights to get to undisputed. So
yeah,
I'm in full favour and full respect of the way he became undisputed. I just don't like the fact that since he's become undisputed, he's just friggin' avoiding mandatories like it's going out of fashion.
Yeah. So let's
hey,
go ahead.
What's going on with IBF? Isn't Bakram Mutazaliev having a fight with some bloke?
He's also waiting for the IBF to move on to strip Charlo so he can fight Jack Couquet. I got that news from a YouTuber who follows the rankings and reaches out to the fighters, L-Dub. So he said he spoke to him, actually. Murtazaliev is trying to fight Murtazaliev and Jack Couquet are trying to fight for the vacant belt.
Oh, God, that's been happening for about 18 months, that bloody fight.
Yeah.
So, longer. Yeah. That fight's been talked about forever.
But since we're running short on time, we forgot to mention Brian Mendoza, 22-2 with 16 KOs, who's supposed to be fighting Tszyu. He's the WBC champion that got that upset against Sebastian Fundora. What month was that? That was in April of this year over in Carson, California. Stopped him in 7, and Sebastian Fundora was up on the cards. What did you think about that fight? Were you ever high on Fundora? I was never really high on him.
No, because I think we discussed this earlier. I saw that loss coming 6 fights ago because the guy was just far too tall for that division. I mean, the man was skin and bone. Yeah. How he didn't get knocked out earlier is beyond me. So, and there was yeah, Fendora had like weak defense. Yes, he worked well on the inside, but a fighter of his size shouldn't be working on the inside. He was getting far too close, and all he had to do was break his, cut his body down, and then bleed it to the head and bang. That's what happened. I mean, a fighter that tall left
should
himself
box.
wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah. I was never really big on Sebastian Fendora, even though he just kept winning. Even though some of those wins were like, what was a win that was a bit dodgy? Sergio Garcia, wasn't that a bit of a close call?
Yep.
Did he fight Sergio Garcia?
Yeah, I covered that fight. Yep.
Yeah, that one was a bit of a
Davis Romero undercard, I believe, or was that Tank Davis? That was on Tank Davis Eastside Cruz undercard.
Yeah. So I mean, Sebastian Fendora needs to put on 50, if not 100 pounds, and fight in the cruiserweight or the heavyweight division. But yeah, never were really big on Sebastian Fendora. I know as soon as Tszyu, if he ever fought Tszyu just would have shotted the shit out of him, and that would have been the end of him. But looking forward to Brian Mendoza, Tszyu. It will be in Australia on October 15th.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be Sunday. The announcement should be next week, next Thursday, because Fox Sports have got No Limit's got another Fox card on Wednesday night. Basically, it's to build up Nikita's next fight. The Australian welterweight title's on the line, and the winner of that will fight Nikita Tszyu next fight. That's the plan. You can see that coming. And then I dare say the next day they'll make the announcement in regarding the venue to Tszyu versus Mendoza. And from what I've been told, Tim is in America, and he will be at the Charlo Canelo fight.
Okay, as he should. Yeah, get his name out there. I have the main event page pulled up here. Tszyu Mendoza is $59.95 for you guys over there in Australian territories on Foxtel or KO, and you guys are getting Canelo and Charlo for $40 over there also on Foxtel and KO. Oh, by the way, Brian Mendoza, his two losses are to Jesus Ramos, who is fighting. He's supposed to be the next guy at 154 pounds, and he went the distance with him. Ramos is fighting Erickson Lubin in the very tough co-feature to Canelo versus Charlo September the 30th. And the other fighter he lost to was a fighter by the name of Larry Gomez, in which he lost a split decision.
Erickson Lubin. Has Erickson Lubin fought since Sebastian Fendora beat the piss out of him?
Yeah, he came back and fought Luis Arias and was beating him, but Luis Arias was pulling some bullshit in the ring, basically. I forgot exactly, but it ended in 5 round KO. That was back in June.
Okay, so he looked good.
Yeah, he
looked
did.
Sharp
He looked good. Yeah, he looked good. Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, because Fendora broke his face. I mean, it was awful.
Horrible. It was grotesque. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that Jesus Ramos Erickson Lubin fight. That'll be very, very.
It's a fight that a lot of people didn't think that Lubin was going to take. And Lubin's only 27 years old, and he's been taking, like tough fights. That's going to be a banger. So the guy who wins that is supposed to be the next guy after Tszyu. Like Tszyu is the guy of the 154-pound division now after Charlo. Ramos is supposed to be that next guy. And if Tszyu stays at 154, he's going to run into the winner of Lubin and Ramos. That likely would be next, especially for a title.
Speaking of Tszyu, if I'm correct, I saw this the other day. BoxRec put Tszyu as their number one fighter at 154. Is that still? Do they still have him as number one on BoxRec? Can you check that out, please?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Hold on, where was I at? Yes, they do.
Yeah. So we got 2 Aussies. So Jason Maloney's number one at 118 too, according to BoxRec.
So here's how it works. They removed Charlo because now Charlo was listed at 168. So for fans who don't know, that's why Charlo was not there. So they have Tszyu ranked number 1, Mendoza ranked number 2, Fendora ranked number 3, Magomedov number 4, Madrimov number 5. Actually, I agree with this list. I agree with those first 4.
Yeah, I agree. So
without Charlo being there.
Yeah. Well, obviously Charlo's still the number 1 guy in the division because he's undisputed champ. But if he wins, if he beats Canelo, he ain't never coming back to 154. It's as simple as that. If he loses, because then if he loses, he'll still, depending on what the WBC does, he'll still have three, if not four of the belts, depending on what the Ring magazine does. I don't know how they work.
They're not gonna strip him. He'll likely keep the WBC, the WBA, the IBF is on thin ice. That's the one that's on thin ice. The WBO is pretty much already gone. The IBF is going to be next.
Yeah.
The WBA, they're trash, so they're not going to strip him in the WBC. Well, just look at Jamal Charlo and look, at Dillon's situation. So they're not going to strip him.
I mean, at the very worst, you'll have at least 2, if not 3 belts still to his name. And then they can run straight into the Crawford fight.
Yeah, it would be the Crawford fight, and Tszyu would likely miss out. He would probably have to try to fight Charlo at 160. I don't see Charlo going back down to 154 for Tszyu. He'll go back down for Crawford because of the money. I don't see him going back down to 154 for Tszyu.
No, not at all. But, it's interesting to see what happens because I would actually like to see the WBC grow a freaking backbone, strip Jamel, and put Jamal a champion in recess, which frees up that belt. Because 160 at the moment is a freaking mess.
Yeah, the whole division's a mess.
Oh, yeah, I mean, are there any champions standing at the moment? I don't even know what's going on.
You have Ali Halala taking on a Vincento Gulatieri for to unify the IBF and the WBO titles. That should tell you something right there. That's happening next month on Top Rank on ESPN.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
Emerson Aguilar at the WBA trying to fight Danny Garcia, and then Jamal Charlo has that WBC. The division is a shit show.
Good shit fight, yeah. Right. That's putting it lightly.
The whole division the whole division is a shit show. The whole entire division right now.
You tell a man it's a shit fight. Then you got poor old Mixer Rapper sitting on his hands doing fuck all.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but anyway, that's another story for another day.
Yeah, but closing thoughts? Did we miss anything?
No, I think we covered everything. We've got our next Aussie podcast coming up very soon. As I said, Charlo versus Canelo. To be perfectly honest, I don't really care what happens. I just want to see. Personally, I'd like to see WBC grow a backbone and go, you've dicked around long enough. We'll strip you of the WBC belt, elevate Brian Mendoza. And then we've got a unification bout in Australia with an Aussie fighting, which has never happened. So, and that just makes Tszyu Mendoza even bigger. So that's what I'd like to see. As I said, I hope Canelo beats the piss out of Charlo. The bloody, teach him a lesson for ducking mandatories. Because I think, I'm not a huge fan of what's going on with that. But anyway, and all I want to see is Tszyu versus Mendoza. I don't really care about the other one, to be honest.
Yeah, also, it was announced by Matchroom earlier today that Justice Hooney is going to be returning October the 28th against Andrew Tabiti. So I'm surprised he's back so soon. On the undercard of Oshaki Foster versus Rocky Hernandez. That's going to be on the Zone. So that's some good news.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so,
Well, I'm glad Justice Hooney's back. So let's just hope the young fella can stay uninjured for more than 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's going to be in Cancun, and it's going to be on the same day as Fury versus Ngannou, who had their trash press conference earlier. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. The next content we're going to be producing in Australian boxing is the Australian Boxing Podcast, where we'll go more into Hooney versus Andrew Tabiti, talk about Jayo Bataya's fight, the Maloney's, what's going on with the women's boxing scene, and so on.
Yeah, Sky Nixon, Floyd Masson, and Alex Winwood, who's a surprise, a bit of a dark horse in Australian boxing. And we'll get to him in the Aussie podcast because he could be a world champion within the next 2 fights.
Okay.
So, yeah, another bloke that we haven't mentioned yet, but definitely need a mention.
All right. You can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J on Twitter and me at TstreeT Controversy. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.